So, how's everyone else doing after that game? Let's talk about what needs to happen now for the Columbus Blue Jackets on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jeff Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm also, as you will notice on the screen, the founder and president of the Jet Greaves fan club. We're going to be talking about Jet Greaves a lot tonight. We're going to be talking about Adam Fantilli a lot tonight as well. Before we do that, I want to again thank you for making this your first listen of the day. I can speak, I promise. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. Now, same rules apply with the live show. I love that you all have come to hang out. We're going to have some fun. I can only do one thing at once, and unfortunately, that one thing is talk. Throw your questions, throw your comments into the chat, and when we get to the third segment, we'll deal with them. So if you have questions about, what this means for the Blue Jackets going forward, if you have questions about, I don't know, Jet Greaves, about Adam Fantilli, about what it's going to be like to watch Kent Johnson for the next 15 years, just be an absolute stud, like all of that good stuff, throw it in the chat. We'll get to it in, about 22 minutes-ish, probably. So first off, I want to talk about the game. Mostly the good. I think almost all the good, actually. Which the Jet Greaves. Let's just start there. Jet Greaves with his second shutout in 4 days, his second shutout in 3 games. The quick math is that in his last 132, nope, I can do the math. 93 plus 29 is 122, I believe. In his last 122 shots, he has allowed 3 goals total. Just a incredibly wild stat. And I know that the quote unquote drama for the last kind of little while has been, well, why wasn't he called up sooner, right? I don't know if you get this result from him if you call him up sooner. Yeah, okay, they probably could have called him up a couple of, a week earlier, maybe a couple of games earlier. But the fact of it is, it would have to have been, I believe, an emergency call-up. I'm not 100% on the rules of how many post-trade deadline recalls the Blue Jackets get, but I think it would have to have been an emergency call-up for Greaves, which would have meant that one goalie had to be unable to play, which Elvis getting injured, that was the emergency, right? And so until the emergency is over, which is until Elvis is healthy, they get to keep Jet, which makes me think that Elvis is probably not. We're not going to see Elvis again. I mean, it all depends on what happens tomorrow night, right? Again, a lot of this is still. It feels insane that so much. It feels like there is so much stuff to happen, but that was game 81 of the season, right? There's one game left. There's one game left for the Canadians. They lose that in regulation. Blue Jackets are still alive. They play the Islanders on Thursday. Blue Jackets are 2-1 against the Islanders and have a shutout already. That's what it's going to come down to. Can the Montreal Canadiens lose in regulation against a Hurricanes team that is probably going to rest a bunch of their guys? Can the Blue Jackets win in regulation against the Islanders? That's what it comes down to, right? But to kind of, before I get too off track, Jet Greaves. What a performance. I have liked this kid for such a long time. And, I've talked to a handful of goalie people. I think I did, was it last season? Maybe I did an episode on the goalie pipeline for the Blue Jackets. And we talked about Elvis, Tarasov, Greaves. We talked about Ivanov over in Russia. We talked about basically the entire goalie pipeline that the Blue Jackets have. And it was great. It was really informative. He did say that Jet Greaves would probably be a career backup that bounced around the league. And that might still be true. Sometimes the goalie gets hot at the right time, right? However, I am fully prepared to put all of my eggs in the Jet Greaves basket, let's say. Again, let's say Habs lose on tomorrow, Wednesday, the Blue Jackets have to play Jack Greaves against the Islanders. They just do. Like, there's no other option. And then you get to the playoffs. You're telling me that if knock on wood, the Blue Jackets get to the playoffs, you cannot sit here and tell me that anyone other than Jack Greaves will be in the starting goal for game 1 against Washington. You can't tell me that there'll be anyone else, which is really fun. And he has earned it, and he's done that basically every time he's needed to this season. His season he's been excellent in the AHL. We all know that. He has had a couple of call-ups this year that I think basically were not necessarily merit-based for him. I think, like, the first call-up specifically I'm thinking about was both of the goalies were just playing really badly. So Elvis and Tarasov were both in a slump. And so they were like, well, let's just call up the kid. Let's call up the third string goalie because neither of you guys could save a beach ball at the minute. And we'll see if that puts a little bit of fire up you. And it did, to be fair. But that's been a lot of Jet Greaves' season, I think, is that, like, there has not been a lot of, like, merit-based call-ups for him. And that's kind of how it goes with goalies anyway, right? Is the roster space is so limited for a goalie at the NHL level that you could be the best goalie in the AHL, and unless something drastic happens at the NHL level, like, you're not gonna get your chance. You have to wait for someone to get injured, or you have to wait for someone to, play so badly that they play themselves completely out of the building. And that's when you take your chance, right? And Jet Greaves has done that. He's been great every single time they've called him up. Had a couple of wobbly games, had a couple of wobbly saves, a couple of wobbly moments, but he's been the MVP for the last week and a half of the Blue Jackets season. Like, if they do, again, I'm gonna knock on wood, if they do the thing, it's gonna be because of Jet Greaves. Straight up. Like, it's going to be because of some other guys as well. And we're going to talk about, for example, 30-goal scorer Adam Fantilli in a minute here. Sean Monahan continuing to do Sean Monahan things. Kent Johnson doing all of the Kent Johnson things, right? But for me, at this part of the season, like, Jet Greaves has to be the MVP of this late playoff push, right? He plays a game on Wednesday in the AHL, allows 3 goals on, I don't know how many shots off the top of my head, gets the call up the next morning, drives up or down to Columbus, plays again that night, makes 39 of 41 saves, shuts out the Eastern Conference leading Washington Capitals 2 days later, 26 hours after that, 29 of 30 saves against, again, the Eastern Conference leading Capitals with Alex Ovechkin in the lineup as well. And then do or die game against the Flyers. Jack Greaves. What was it? A 29 save shutout for him. Rockstar. Just like I said on my little side thing. Hey, he's got the dog in him. He's just got that dog in him. I can't say enough good things about Jack Greaves. And he's gonna make it a really, really interesting summer because I don't know that Don Waddell wanted to go into this summer needing to replace both of his goalies. Like, there was a conversation of, well, I think there was a lot of things unsaid about, well, we'll see what Elvis does this year. And if Elvis is good, great. If Elvis isn't good enough, then we'll have the conversation in the summer. I think they were hoping that Daniil Tarasov was going to be a lot better than he was. And now they're faced with, okay, now what do they do, right? Because, and this is something that we'll probably focus like a full episode on at some point because I have a lot of thoughts about goaltending, but Jet Greaves is going to be one of the goalies next year, just straight up. Do you go and get a veteran that can play 30, 35 games? Or do you try and go and get like a Spencer Knight, for example, and let Jet Greaves be the backup? And then hope that one of those guys turns into the guy. I think it really depends on how much faith they have in Jet Greaves. Is this a hot streak right now, or is this who he is as a goalie? And, like, honestly, I'm leaning, the more I watch him play, and, like, I've watched him play in the AHL for a long time now, the more I watch him play in the NHL, the more I think this kid might be it. Like, if he can hold it down, even if he only has to hold it down for a couple of years until, someone like Ivanov is ready or someone like Gardner is ready, even then, Jet Greaves might be the guy. And they got him for a song, nothing. They picked him up by accident, basically. Um, I can't say enough good things about Jet Greaves and about how lucky the organization is to, because that's what it was. Is they lucked into him, basically, and he has decided to just work hard and love the game and be a good guy and a good teammate, and the saves will come, right? And he's been rewarded again for it tonight. I thought the Blue Jackets in general were great tonight. They've had a lot of games this year where they have had the goaltending has really bailed them out, and they've had games where they've overcome bad goaltending, right? I thought it was a complete team performance this year, this game. And now they sit and they wait. That's the worst thing about this, and we'll talk about Adam Fantilli and Ken Johnson, etc. in a minute here. But I think that's the worst part of it is, and I felt like I felt this way yesterday, paying attention to the Habs Blackhawks game. I did the same thing when I was paying attention to the Habs Leafs game on Sunday or whenever it was. It's out of their hands, right? They can do nothing except wait for the Habs to play a game. You're sitting here hoping that the Hurricanes, who are going to be playing a young, depleted lineup, they're resting some of their heavy hitters for the playoffs. Can the Hurricanes still turn around and beat Montreal? You can't do anything about it, right? And so you just have to kind of sit here and wait. And then they've still got a game to play on Thursday as well. That game might mean something, it might not. Who can say? Let's take a quick break. And then when we get back, I want to talk about 30-goal scorer Adam Fantilli and how he and Ken Johnson should never be separated ever again. So we'll talk about that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios are one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. I love the no shells variety. I am a gremlin. I like to eat pistachios approximately 14 at a time. So I love that I can just have a bag where I don't have to go through and crack open every single shell. But if you are the kind of person that loves cracking open every shell, if you like to fidget while you're sitting on a Zoom meeting or whatever, then the in-shell options are a classic favorite as well. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. I want to talk a little bit about Adam Fantilli. Just a reminder, I'm seeing the comments, the little number by the comment box go up and up and up. I love the engagement. I love the comments. I love to see people, having fun with this live stream. I've been doing them a lot more recently and having some fun with it. I am very stupid and can only do one thing at once. So I can only talk at one time. I can only talk and that's it. I can't talk and read the comments and think about the comments. So we'll talk a little bit more about the game, and then for the third segment, which will probably be in about 10 minutes time, we'll dive into the comments. We'll interact with some people there. If you have questions, again, about the game, about the upcoming games, things like that, throw them in there, and I will get to them in, again, about 10 minutes. But Adam Fantilli has scored 30 goals as a 20-year-old, where the first half of his season, he was okay. This is unfair. I was going to say the first half of the season he was awful. That's incorrect. The first half of the season he was playing on a line with Zach Aston Reese and Kevin LeBanc. Again, it's amazing what happens when you play good players with other good players, right? He took the opportunity to play between Marchenko and Voronkov when Monahan went down with that injury, and since then it's like he's been shot out of a cannon. Even not playing with those guys, that Van Riemsdyk Johnson pairing for his wingers is just money. Mostly Kent Johnson. I think James Van Riemsdyk really is just kind of there for emotional support mostly, and sometimes a goal. But I don't understand why they weren't put together. Ken Johnson was on the third line before he got injured in like game 4 or 5 of the season, missed some time, and then came back. And again, has kind of bounced around the lineup a little bit. I believe is currently like Ken Johnson, I believe is 4th in scoring or tied for 3rd in scoring. And then Fantilli will either be 4th or 5th, depending on math. Those two guys, right? Like I saw a lot of people, and Ken Johnson was not super on my radar for the Blue Jackets to draft back in 2021. I was looking at Simon Edmondson, I was looking at Brent Clark, I was looking at defensemen, right? They decide they need a center. They go after Kent Johnson, who it turns out is actually a really, really, really good winger. And then you pick up Adam Fantilli at 3rd overall, and you see a lot of people being like, man, there are going to be a bunch of teams that are unhappy that they missed out on Michkov, right? And in fairness, Michkov is a very, very good player. I thoroughly enjoy watching him. I thought he had a great game tonight. Not as good as Adam Fantilli, but he had a pretty good game, right? Getting those two players and having them click like they have, I want to see that for the next 15 years. That's what I want from this team. Like that's you have, and I've thought about this for a while. Is you have duos, right? Like Monahan and Marchenko clearly clicked very early on in the season. There's your duo. You find a winger to play with them, right? Sometimes your duo is 2 wingers, and you find a center to play with them, etc., etc. Going forward, you have your Monahan Marchenko duo, and you have your Fantilli Johnson duo. You build around that. Whether the other wingers are, Dmitry Voronkov, or whether your winger is Gavin Brindley, or whether it's a free agent that you bring in, or whether it's, I don't know, Caden Lindstrom a handful of years down the line. Like, those are the duos that you work with, right? I cannot say enough good things about how Adam Fantilli has taken off even in the past week. What's that, 5 goals in his last 3 games, 6 goals in his last 5, 4 goals in the weekend against the Capitals, the 3-0 goal tonight, which was just an incredible deflection on an unbelievable play by Marchenko. The more I said this mostly as a joke when it first kind of came around, but Adam Fantilli he feels more and more like Nate McKinnon every single time he plays, I feel like. And if the Blue Jackets get a Nate McKinnon out of Adam Fantilli, then watch out, right? Again, Ken Johnson, I've been so impressed with him all season. Again, playing on the 3rd line and had an 8 or 9 game point streak to start the season. There was a gap in the middle where he got injured, but it still counts. And I haven't even talked about Sean Monahan, who I believe, unless he got an assist on, I don't believe he got an assist on that last goal, because why would he? Because Adam Fantilli was on the ice. Sean Monahan, I believe, now has 15 points in 12 games since returning from injury. 56 points on the season in, I want to say, in 49 games or 50 games, maybe. He is over a point a game. And can you, I've asked this a million times. Where is this team if they don't lose Monahan to injury for 2 months? Because the answer is probably in the 3rd seed of the Metropolitan Division, and they locked up their spot weeks ago. So, just an unbelievable pickup. Is that contract going to age well? I don't know. But right now, I am enjoying the Sean Monahan experience so much, and I don't think you can overstate, how important he's been to the room, how important he's been to the young centers, and how important he's been to just kind of keep this team together on a season where it would be very, very easy and no one would say anything if they had just fully collapsed, right? So, yes, Zach Werenski's having an incredible season. Yes, Kramachenko's having an incredible season. Adam Fantilli, 30 goals as a 20-year-old, incredible season. I don't think any of this happens without Monahan. And so you have to give him his flowers. I was trying to think if there was anything I didn't like about the game. Up until that last power play, I was ready to complain about how the power play hadn't done anything. But power play goal, Kent Johnson, maybe the slowest power play goal he's ever scored. But again, they don't ask how, they ask how many. a shutout. They outworked the Flyers. Erica Branson was extremely good in this game as well. Just as a heads up, which I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting that. Jody Shelley loves Erica Branson, and so he always loves to say, "Oh, I love his game tonight. I think he's had a really good game." And then I go and I look, and I'm like, "Oh, he's been like outshot 2-8 while he's been on the ice or whatever." But when I checked, like halfway through the third period, he was actually second among Blue Jackets for shot attempts for while he was on the ice. I think Wierenski was at like 33 or something insane, and then he was in second with 22, and he was creating more offense than he was giving up, which is not nothing with Erica Branson. So like when your third pairing is doing the job and creating offense like that, everything is going well. You know, I would like fewer penalties. I would like them to do less crime. But like that's really my only gripe is take fewer penalties. But if they're gonna kill them off, then I guess take as many penalties as you want. Don't take as many penalties as you want. I realize that sometimes I say things on this podcast, and obviously the team is not listening, but I feel like they might be listening a little bit in the way that sometimes I complain about a player and then he scores the next game. Sometimes I'm like, hey, the penalty kills doing great. We don't mind about penalties, and then they go on a streak of allowing a billion penalties and allowing a billion power play goals. But honestly, 9.999 out of 10 for this game, maybe 10 out of 10. They keep the hopes alive. It's out of their hands now. The Hurricanes have to win tomorrow in regulation, and then the Blue Jackets have to beat the Islanders. It could come down to game 82 of the season, which I said a couple of weeks ago, and was joking. And now it might just be happening, which is cool and fun and makes my heart rate and my blood pressure so normal, and I don't want to throw up or anything. And I'm sure everyone else feels exactly the same. So let's take another quick break, and then we'll dive into the comment section. We'll dive into the chat. If you have questions, etc., we'll get to them in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts that are ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who has delivered incredible results. And posting a job is free and simple, and you get multiple qualified candidates to choose from within a day. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork can help you find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's go ahead and dive into the comments. Yeah, everyone's a big Hurricanes fan all of a sudden. I've never said a bad word about the Carolina Hurricanes, and I never will again if it comes through tomorrow. Something storm surge, something. Like, let's do it. I think the Habs, I don't think have beaten the Hurricanes in regulation in a while, which obviously means that can go one of two ways, right? But I just feel like the odds are in our favor. I really do. Like, I've kind of been joking about this being like a team of destiny. It just makes too much sense for the narrative. Again, kind of joking, but also kind of not. And 2 weeks ago, I was ready to write it off. I was like, you know what? They tried. Good job. Go again next year. But now I'm like, what if they do the thing? Like, yes, it's out of their hands. They've got to beat the Hurricanes. But then all the Blue Jackets have to do, knock on wood, before my hubris gets me, all they've got to do is beat the Islanders. That feels so doable. Like, this feels possible. I will be watching the Hurricanes game tomorrow and being extremely extremely stressed about it, but out of our hands, it's out of my hands. There's something I can do for the game. All we got to do is hope that the Hurricanes do the Hurricanes thing. Z-Man Jace asks Jet Steal when I think that every single game when they say, "Hey, let's have a word from Jets," and then Zach Werenski pops up on screen, I'm like, man, you have built-in sponsorship right there. I can just it's so easy. Do it at Jets Pizza. I will help you out here. Yeah, Dino Weinheimer says, all I can say is thank you, Anaheim. It's because of them Columbus has Fantilli. Leo Carlson's going to be a great player in this league. Adam Fantilli coming to Columbus feels like fate. Just so much fun. I would have been happy with Carlson. I would have been happy with Smith eventually. The fact that we spent the whole season manifesting Adam Fantilli, and there he is. Great. You love to see it. NFT Forest, yeah, I will never say a bad word about the Carolina Hurricanes again. You can quote me on that. You can absolutely quote me on that. If they lose, all bets are off. But if the Hurricanes win in regulation tomorrow, I will never say a bad word about them again, ever again. Even if the Blue Jackets end up having to play them in the second round or whatever. Adam and Bo, what a fun team to watch. I have to think JG is smiling right now. Imagine if he was still here on this team. Sentiments are with CBJ. That's and like that's kind of thing. Am I biased? Yes. But it's just again, team of destiny. It's you got to win it for Johnny, right? And I'm seeing a lot of, and I've mentioned this before. It happened around about the outdoor game when the Blue Jackets got lucky with the win. Excellent performance by Elvis, some help from the referees, etc. A lot of teams that have been all for Columbus winning are all for Columbus winning right up until their team, right up until Columbus beats them, and then suddenly they're not all for Columbus. Which it's been kind of funny watching the Montreal Canadiens fans kind of turn on Columbus as it gets right down to the wire. But I still think that it's meant, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, right? If it's meant to be, it will be. No one predicted this. No one saw this coming after the summer that the Blue Jackets had. Like, even if it doesn't happen, you go into the summer proud of this team, right? More good comments about Jet Greaves, Jean-Philippe Bernard. Montreal fan here. I still love what Greaves is doing for the CBJ. You got to be happy for the young goalie. Philip says, hats off to Jet on his second shutout. Second shutout in 3 games. Insane. Like I said this at the beginning of the episode, I think, but where you all got to see me try and do math in real time. But 127? I've already forgotten how much math it was. 93 plus 29 is 118. No, 112. See, I've already forgotten how to do math. 3 goals on 122 shots. Incredible. Just incredible. If it doesn't happen, you cannot in any way, shape, or form blame Greaves. What do I think of Elvis from Epic Blades? I have been such a big believer and supporter of Elvis for so long because he has all of the potential in the world and he has all of the skill in the world. It just feels like he can't string it together often enough, right? And I do wonder if perception of Elvis is not helped by his contract, right? Because it was a wild contract to sign when it was signed. What was it, 5 years at $5.5 million or something like that? But if he was making slightly less money, I think the fan base would be more receptive to his numbers, right? But he's, I think, the 8th or 9th highest paid goalie in the league. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the fact that he is making so much money and has been making that much money for, a handful of subpar seasons now, I think that's what has really kind of soured the fan base on him. I have wanted to like Elvis and I do like Elvis. I like him as a person. I think again he's got all of the skill in the world, just can't seem to put it together. He's not the most durable goalie in the world. He misses a lot of time with injuries and with illnesses, and it's all of that. I think he's been through a lot as well. Obviously, losing Matisse Kivlenieks in what was it, 2021? I want to say the summer of 2021. 3 years later, lose another teammate in again another senseless, horrible accident. You've got to feel for the dude, right? Like, that's tough. Just all feels like the universe has kind of conspired against Elvis to stop him. Because remember how great his rookie season was? What was it like? I think he had 7 or 8 shutouts, and he had 5. He had a streak where he had 5 shutouts in like 8 games or something stupid like that. Like, everyone was so excited. They were like, "Yep, Elvis is the new Bobrovsky, the new heir apparent, etc., etc." Like, and it's just kind of gone downhill from there. And I think again, not because of anything that Elvis has really done. I don't think it's helped that the team has been miserably bad in front of him. I think the off ice trauma really, really affected him, and it continues to affect him even now because obviously it would. I do think it's time to move on from Elvis. I don't know what that means going forward, but I do think Jet Greaves is going to be on the roster next year. Tarasov is going to be gone. I don't know if Elvis is going to be here or not. Which Sam Duncan pops in to ask, would Elvis be a viable second goalie to Greaves or even split duties between them 50-50? I wouldn't hate it necessarily. $5.5 million is a lot of money to pay for a backup goalie. It really, and again, I think we might actually talk about this in more detail in tomorrow's episode, because I've kind of been thinking about it for a lot of the evening. Like, it depends on what you want, A, from Jet Greaves, and B, what you want from Jet Greaves as backup, right? Do you want someone to be who is able to split games with him? Do you want Jet Greaves to play 42 or 41 games next season? Or do you want him to play, closer to 50, 55 games next season? Because that answer is going to influence who you go out. Like, do you go out and get a goalie at free agency? Do you trade for a goalie? Do you try and keep Elvis and see if you can make it work in any way? There's still a lot of moving parts, but it does feel like all of the parts are moving around Jet Greaves. I think Elvis could be a very serviceable backup, but it comes down to, does the team want to pay that much money for a backup? Is Elvis going to be happy being a backup? Obviously, there was the drama last season where he was the third goalie. Like, he wasn't dressing for games. It was they were swapping between Greaves and Tarasov for a chunk of the season. And I don't know if that was last season. Maybe it was the season before. It all kind of blends together after a while. But he asked for a trade, and then he didn't ask for a trade, and then he asked for a trade again, and then it turns out that he didn't actually ask for a trade after all. Like, there was a lot of up and down and stuff like that. The I forgot what I was going to say. I got distracted. It's very late here. As you can tell by my accent, if you're not an everydayer, it is 3:30 a.m. where I am, because I am in England. But to kind of wrap up my thought process on Elvis here is, I don't know that he would be happy being a backup. I don't even know that he would be happy splitting time equally. I think he's done a lot of growth over the last summer, and it seems like as a teammate, he seems a little bit more well-liked in the room this year, and I don't know if that's because everyone's kind of come together. I don't know, I don't know. I'm not in the room. I don't know what's going on. But by the sounds of things, Elvis was not particularly well-liked last season. Seems like he is more well-liked this season. So again, I think it's going to be an interesting summer when it comes to goalies. I would be unsurprised if they keep him. I would be unsurprised if they move him. I would be unsurprised if they buy him out. There is nothing about the goalie situation, I don't think, that would surprise me, unless it's that okay, I've said that, and now I realize that I need to clarify, because I can only use my hockey psychic powers for evil. I would be surprised if Tarasov stays. That's about it. I think Jet Greaves is going to be one of the two goalies next year. I don't think you can keep Tarasov as a backup. He's not a viable backup. Elvis is a viable backup, but it depends on whether the team wants to spend that money, right? Again, just a really good point from Adam and Bo here. Panthers fan here. The Bob contract was seen as an albatross for years. I think Elvis really should have shown he was the guy by now. Bob at least had won a Vezina before he got the bag. Bob actually won 2 Vezinas before he got the bag, technically speaking, because he won in, I want to say 2013, and then he won again in 2018, I believe. So not just before he left Columbus, but it was near the end of his tenure with Columbus. He had 2 Vezinas with Columbus, but yeah, I saw that Bobrovsky contract by Florida and was like, wow, that is awful. That is going to age so badly. And I think he had a couple of rough years in Florida. The team was kind of doing weird stuff. The team has figured it out. Bob figured it out. I might have given him the Conn Smythe in the playoffs last year. I genuinely might have done. I understand why they gave it to McDavid, but like if they were going to go to a Panther, for me, it had to go to Bob. I love him. I miss him. He's gonna be in the Hall of Fame. One of the goalies of all time for me, anyway. Definitely the best goalie that Columbus has ever seen so far. I think a lot of people wanted Elvis to become Bobrovsky, and when he didn't, that again bothered people. Elvis made a lot of money. Didn't put up the saves necessarily. So that I think is, he was kind of fighting an uphill battle in a way. They shouldn't have offered him that contract, and he probably shouldn't have taken the contract. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, no, he should have said, actually, no, give me less money and less term, because that's stupid. Like, no one in the entire world, if someone was like, hey, do you want like $5.5 million to do your job next year for the next 5 years? And you were like, actually, no, I'm not worth that. Give me less. No one's going to do that. So I don't blame him for signing that contract. I kind of blame Kekalainen for giving him the contract, because I believe he had a 1-year ELC, and then he signed a 1-year or a 2-year ELC, and then he signed a 1-year extension, and then he signed the 5-year extension, which he's in year 3 of now, I think. So just a really wild sequence of because he was great in his rookie season. And then he was good in his second season, and then he was bad in his third season, and he has kind of declined since then. So just not a great contract to give out. Kekalainen bet big. Like it was go big or go home, right? And he went big, and unfortunately he probably should have gone home. But water under the bridge. We are in a new series, a new era of Blue Jackets goaltending. And that era is the Greaves era. We're going to see him again on Thursday, I think. Hopefully we get another performance like the last 4 games that we've seen from him. And hopefully the Hurricanes do the thing tomorrow. We're all going to be rooting for the Hurricanes. Jack Roslovic, former Blue Jacket, he's got a hat trick from Roslovic. He's gone quiet recently. I think he scored like 5 goals in the year 2025 so far. So if he wants to, figure out how to score goals again, then he could do it tomorrow. That would be great. Same thing, Eric Robinson. If we could get a goal from him, that would also be great. But it's out of the Blue Jackets' hands right now. This time tomorrow, we'll know whether it's over or whether we're still alive. We'll have an episode for you tomorrow. Probably a little bit about that, but I think I'm going to talk about the goaltending a little bit more. I'm going to talk about Jack Greaves and who they maybe want to surround him with going into next season. So that's going to be tomorrow's episode. Thank you for listening to this episode, making it your first listen of the day. Not your first listen, it's 10:30. It's fine. Your last listen of the day? Question mark. Every single day. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets over on Twitter as well. Thank you for coming to hang out. Thank you for, interacting in the chat, for asking questions, for coming to hang out. Like, I really, really do appreciate it. It makes the live show so much more fun when I've got people, coming and interacting with the things that I'm saying. So I appreciate all you guys for coming to hang out. And we'll chat again soon. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk more Jack Greaves. And until then, make sure you stay locked on.